I stayed on those pharmaceuticals that I was on for a decade before I was willing to say, because I cared about the life that I was leading when I had this like quick fix relief, and the side effects were, I wanted to ignore them because I wanted it to work.
Welcome back to the Eversio experience, where we explore science, soul, and stories behind living a life well lived with the help of nature's most powerful medicines. Today's episode is an inspiring one because we're joined by a true pioneer in the world of holistic health and radiant living, Joy McCarthy. Joy is a certified holistic nutritionist, the founder of an award-winning wellness platform, joyoushealth.com, and co-founder of Hello Joyous, a beautiful and organic, plant-based, sustainable beauty brand rooted in the mission to help people find more joy in the everyday. She's also the best-selling author of 3 incredible cookbooks, including Joyous Health and Joyous Detox, and the host of the Joyous Health podcast, where she dives deep with natural health experts from around the world. Joy brings a unique voice to the conversation around skin health, especially for those dealing with rosacea, because she has been there. In this episode, we'll talk with Joy about the connection between nutrition and skin health, the rituals that keep her grounded, the power of plant-based beauty, and how she infuses more joy, not just into her brand, but into her life, family, and community. So whether you're dealing with skin challenges, looking to clean up your beauty routine, or just craving a little more joy in your wellness journey, this conversation is for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Joy.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
You've been on our list for a long time, Joy, because
Aw.
we met a few years ago, and it was a fellow mushroom loving friend that introduced us online. So Dr. Desiree and I are in Vancouver on the west coast of Canada, and Joy is all the way over on the east coast of Canada. So we've actually never met in person, but these online conversations, I feel like we've just become friends across the
Totally.
country.
I feel like I know you both, actually.
Right?
It's funny. Yeah, it's
Yes.
like hard to believe we haven't met in person.
I know. It's time. I think it's time. And especially because over those conversations, I feel like I have become one of your biggest fans, like super fangirl.
Oh, thank
because,
you.
and I mean, it started with your blogs, to be honest, because we're newer entrepreneurs, right? Eversio Wellness just turned
hmm
5, but you've been around, I'm going to say over a decade,
Yeah, 15
doing,
plus years now.
yes. So you were
Time
just
flies.
it's really nice when you're starting out in an industry to have role models. And I for sure was so glad to be introduced to someone who could become a model for me with the way that you write your blogs on your website, the things that you shared in your podcast. And then I bought your book. So I bought Joyous Detox first, which lives at my family lake house. And I you taught me to think about detox in a way I had never thought about it before, because you just do it with whole food, and
hmm
I am a plant-based eater, and I was like, I'm already doing so much of it, but you really talk about it in such an approachable way in your cookbooks. But the thing I love most about the connection to you is that you created a whole other brand, and you developed my all-time favorite skin product, your Body Buddy.
Amazing.
And when you put chaga mushrooms in there, I was like, she totally did that for me. And I cannot get enough of it. It is always with me. And I actually just finished the last of it at my lake house supply. So I will be getting more of it. But I
Oh,
just
I need to
think,
send you some more.
send us some
Yep.
more. Everything you put in the world is amazing. And what I actually don't know about you, because I kind of know everything from where I started, is your origin story. And that's
Mm.
something our Eversio community, the audience for this podcast, loves a good story. So I would love it, if you don't mind, if you could tell us, go back those 15 years and what
Yeah,
started
totally.
you in the world of nutrition and all the way to this fabulous new skincare line you have.
Amazing. So I love talking about this story because I think, oftentimes when people see someone in the wellness community, they're like, oh, like you've always been healthy and had healthy glowing
Yeah.
skin and you've got, all the box checked, all those boxes checked. And what I have to say is I had a lot of health issues in my late teens, early 20s. And I went from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, and we could just not figure out why my hormones were so low and so imbalanced. and I was experiencing anxiety and so many gut issues, so many digestive problems. And I was feeling like an it. And so this was kind of like before natural health was really a thing. Like it was not mainstream. Like we're going way back here, like to the 90s, late 90s. I'm dating myself now, but that's when I was a teenager. And so, it wasn't like I could just go online or I could like look up a naturopath or find a nutritionist on IG because it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So
you needed
tried.
There was no Joy on Instagram giving you this amazing reel. You became the teacher you needed.
Yeah, 100%. So, I went from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist. I tried different medications and nothing was working. In fact, I was losing a lot of hair. I had about half the amount of hair that I have on my head. That like I have a lot of hair.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine, I had about half of this. And so I just couldn't get to the root cause. So I remember there was a new endocrinologist that my doctor sent me to. And I remember they said to me, okay, like we're going to try you on this new birth control pill and see if that gets things going. Yeah. And there wasn't even the information to know about the birth control pill. So like there is now. And I would say it can be just as confusing now though too, because there's so many different opinions and there's so much information that now in 2025, there's almost information overload, which can be just as challenging as, back when I was now in my early 20s trying to like find the information. Yeah. But this was definitely like a trigger for me when this doctor had said, I'm writing you a prescription. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, yet another prescription that's not going to do anything. Yeah. So I took this prescription. I went home and I was just like, you know what? I am so done with this. Like, I need to feel better. And so I really had like a paradigm shift. I was like, I have to figure out what is going on because the path that I'm on is not leading me to answers. And even back then, all along, I was like, okay, root cause, like why are my hormones so imbalanced? Why am I losing hair? Why is my digestive system always angry with me? Constipation, bloating, pain, just all the things. So that's when I just went down the rabbit hole and really started to do my own research and trying different things. And when I discovered that certain foods were really bothersome for me, I discovered wheat and gluten and dairy and all the things we talk about now that can be, for some people, very pro-inflammatory. And these foods weren't good for me. So I kind of decided from that point on that I was going to make a shift. I was going to go down the natural health path, which I really didn't know very much about. And within 6 months of making dietary changes, trying supplements, making lifestyle changes as well, like addressing my stress levels. Yes. Within 6 months, my hair started to grow thick again. My digestive problems literally vanished. Like my bloating completely went away. And so and it wasn't overnight, but it took time, because it's so much of it with health issues is trial and error because what works for one person might not work for another. So
and you're undoing years of, I always think with people, it took you years to get in this mess. It could take you an equivalent amount of time 100%. To get out. And people want the quick fix. Time. And when you choose to go the natural route, there is no quick fix. It is it's really listening to your body screaming at you, and you haven't been listening, and now you've decided, but you're going to have to do a lot of listening. And I love hearing the success story when you listened, and you did it young.
When you listen,
did it so much younger than most people. So at that time, you're through school.
I'm in my early 20s. I'm like working in marketing and advertising. I hadn't even gone to study nutrition yet. Right. Like I hadn't even.
This is clearly was your purpose, what you were meant to do, to have that obstacle in your life early on so it could become the opportunity that gives the world the gift of you now. Okay.
Yeah, because thank you. Yeah, because I always felt like my whole life, I feel like I've been a student of nutrition. I've always been so into food and wellness and fitness. like even thinking back, because my mom worked in microbiology, and I used to go to the Toronto Western Hospital sometimes when we go to pick her up, because she would work like really odd hours. And I always remember going to the hospital and seeing these like giant pickle jars of like tapeworms and organs. And I remember being like so fascinated and wanting to know everything about the human body. So it
Big
goes
clue,
like,
because most kids would be grossed out. But
yeah, it was so
yeah,
cool.
your
They were
soul
like
knew
these
this is going to be
giant,
fun.
I cannot believe, you would not believe the tapeworms that can live in
I've heard
people.
the stories. My brother-in-law is a pharmacist, and he loves to tell the story of the how many feet this one was. People bringing them into him in the
It's
pharmacy.
crazy. It's insane.
Everyone's going to go Google it right now.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself.
So like I said, I was in marketing and advertising, and I was like, I was dabbling. I was taking courses, doing little certifications. I think my first introduction was like the Paul Chek. Do you know Paul Chek?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I did his holistic lifestyle course. So that it was like I was doing all the things, and I was like, oh, I need to like really do this, because if I can heal my own body and balance my own hormones, there are more women like me that
Yes.
need my help. So I need to learn more. So I didn't go back to school and study nutrition until like my late 20s. So that, I feel a lot of us have, I know Brandy, you have a healing journey. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of us kind of get into wellness because we've gone down a
We've done it
conventional
ourselves.
road that hasn't maybe maybe has helped a little bit, but hasn't really been able to deal with our health issue fully.
Yeah,
And I feel
some of
so
us
many of us.
more stubborn than others, because you suffered for a much shorter time, where I stayed on those pharmaceuticals that I was on for a decade before I was willing to say, because I cared about the life that I was leading when I had this like quick fix relief, and the side effects were, I wanted to ignore them because I wanted it to work. And
Yeah.
the side effects had to increase in severity enough for them to stop me. Like the universe had to like really knock on my door and say, this is not the way. And so that didn't happen for me until my 40s. So that's why I love hearing, like I often think how different it is for different people depending on where you're supposed to be. And that Dr. Desiree is 30 and I'm almost 50. And here we are very much, I feel like, on the same place on our health and wellness journeys in these different phases of our life. And I look at her every day and think, oh, man, like getting where you are so young, like
Yes.
watch out, a force to be reckoned with later on, as we see you have become. And so you go off to nutrition school, and now you're a certified nutritionist. And I know we have so many nutritionists that listen to this podcast and in our community.
Amazing.
They don't all end up where you are. So what happens when you get certified right away when you're done? Are you seeing patients? Are you in a clinic? What did that look like?
Yeah, so when I graduated from IHN, which was around 2008, I hit the ground running. I've always been like a very ambitious, driven person. So, and I didn't have a backup plan. Like I didn't have like I didn't have savings. I didn't have a family that was like, Joy, go do what you want. We will support you and pay your rent. I was on a mission because I needed to pay my rent in downtown Toronto. So I was like, I am going to make this work. I'm going to build this brand. I'm going to build this hub, Joyous Health, so that people can go to my website. They can make my recipes. They can heal their body. They can feel great. So yeah, the first few years I was working with clients one-on-one, helping them with their nutrition. And I was also doing a lot of corporate wellness, which I still do today, wellness talks, because I really enjoy doing speaking. But it's interesting to look like over the years, the sort of journey that I've had with my business and being an entrepreneur. It was definitely not a straight line. There was highs, there was lows, there was riding the wave. That's one thing I've learned over the last 15 years in business, is that you just have to like learn to ride the wave. Like don't get swept up when everything is going amazing, because not to be negative, like it doesn't stay
The
up
shoreline
forever.
is coming. The shoreline is coming. The wave will crash.
Yeah, 100%. Because, it's the law of nature. What goes up must come down.
Yes.
So I've always had that in the back of my mind. And also knowing that when things do feel hard, being a small business owner, when things do feel hard, like again, to like ride those waves and know that it's not forever.
Yeah.
And always coming back to like, why am I doing this? And my mission has really been the same since day one, is that I just really want to educate people and inspire people to live a more joyous, healthy, happy life, and realizing that it's a holistic approach. It's not just about what you eat. It's not just about how much you move your body. It's about your relationships and how much time you spend in nature. I know I'm preaching to the choir here,
We love it.
but it's
Preach, sister.
right. It's like all the things. So, a couple weeks ago, I did a talk, where I went they do like alumni talks where I went to school, where I studied nutrition. And I really enjoy doing those kinds of talks because you mentioned lots of nutritionists and entrepreneurs listen to your podcast. So, people look at me now, they're like, oh, you have 3 books and you have this and you have that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but this is like 16, 17 years.
Yes.
Like, don't put so much pressure on yourself to like do everything right from the get-go. Like, start slow and like build from there, and just, some days just know that some days are not amazing. Some days are amazing. And you just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of acceptance and a very clear mission. And I think that when you've had the success that you had for your personal health, you do want it for everyone. And that is...
Yes. You really do.
You do. And that's how Eversio Wellness was born. I was like, we need to tell everyone. We need to tell... I want everybody to experience this. And then we named this podcast the Eversio Experience, because it's not just mushrooms. Like, yes, functional mushrooms were the thing for me that helped me to stop having this long-term relationship with pharmaceuticals that was getting me nowhere, never addressing a root cause. And the experience of starting a wellness business and coming alongside others who want to help others, like Dr. Desiree, and we work with another naturopathic doctor, Dr. Shannon, everybody that has come to us, we're all on that same path. And it's a really hard thing to explain when you're not in it, but listening to you talk, and it happens millions of different ways to everybody across this planet. When you're in it, regardless of your age, regardless of your wealth, regardless of your health, there are going to be ups and downs, and you're supposed to have those, because that's what's going to teach you what you need to know to help others.
Yes.
And you're doing it. And you're helping me every day that you get on and say something that either I'm nodding like, yeah, Joy, I do that too, or how did I not know that yet? And I just always hope that's what's happening right now as we share this. So thank you for sharing your personal story. I think it's such a nice thing for people to have the reality that you didn't start with a gazillion followers and 3 books and a beautiful brand and a new line of skincare. And that has come over many, many, many years and a lot of learning and hard work and staying you. Because one of my favorite things about watching even this last journey, I would say, is you're you. You never change. Who you are before we started recording, who you are in that TikTok video, who you are in a webinar, you're always just you. And you're clearly doing what you're meant to do when you can just be you, and it's so helpful to others.
Well, honestly, it's just easier when you're yourself.
Yes.
Right? When you're not like trying to put something on for the camera or be a certain way. Yeah. I don't know. It's just...
People want to talk to you. I
just feel like it's easier.
Yeah. You have the lived experience. Just share it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that quote too. It goes something along the lines of your purpose and your passion in life sits right next door to one of the hardest moments in your life or hardest journeys. And for you, with dealing with your health stuff and that health journey and overcoming that and being a light for other people and just sharing that passion for others, people are attracted to that because you're just being you, and then everything that's meant for you comes back to you.
Yeah. And I know we'll get there to talk about this, but that's so much of why Hello Joyous came about, was because experiencing my own skin issues when I turned 40. And I know we'll get to that, but that was like an interesting pivot as well. And I love what you said, like your passion and your purpose. And that is, I think that's like the key to success.
Yeah.
When you can like marry the two,
Yeah.
when you can bring those two together, your purpose with your passion, then no
Yeah.
matter what you do, I think is bound to be a success.
Yeah. They call it in Japanese, it's ikigai, when you can marry the thing that you're good at, and you're passionate about doing it, you love doing it, and you can make money doing it, and you're providing something to the world, you've done it. That's it. That's what
I
this
love
life
that.
is about.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Trust the Japanese to come up with one word to embody this massive concept.
Totally. I love it. Okay, let's get into skin because you speak so eloquently about skin. You have done your research. You have a skincare brand. We all know, I think it's pretty mainstream within health and wellness that the microbiome is involved with skin. We know, we just know. It's a fact. You can't refute it anymore. Before, there used to be a lot of naysayers in regards to how the gut impacts our body. And a lot of times people will say, if you have something going wrong with your skin, it's not your skin. You need to treat the root cause with your gut. So tell us what you've learned and share some of your pearls about how to care for your skin microbiome and how that relates to the gut-skin axis.
Yeah, so the gut, you just hit the nail on the head with everything. Like, really, your skin is a mirror of what's going on the inside. So if you have inflammation in your gut, it affects your whole body, and your skin is your largest organ. So if you have inflammatory processes happening in your gut, you know, depending on your genetics and various other factors, it could very well end up affecting your skin. And your skin has its own microbiome too. You know, your skin has like billions of these invisible microorganisms that live there. And I think I heard a fact once that like, and I'm sure you'll know this as a naturopath, I think 1 square centimeter of skin has over 1 billion microbes. And of course, like depending on the part, what area of your body, some, you know, your armpits obviously have more microbes than, you know, the top of your hand or your elbow, but these microbes have a great influence on the health of your skin. And we're really, it's like oh my gosh, there's so much information that we're learning about it. But I would say like the two most important things and roles about the skin microbiome are, one, it regulates inflammation. And again, that's connected to the gut. And two, it serves as a barrier against, you know, foreign bad bacteria, viruses, fungi, pollutants, allergens. That skin microbiome is essentially there to ensure the proper functioning of the skin. And the skin and the gut, it's a two-way street. And what goes on with the gut greatly impacts the skin. I mean, the gut microbes, there's gut microbes that can even influence like your oil production, the moisture level of your skin. We see this with people who, I hear this all the time. People, just a woman yesterday reached out to me and she's like, Joy, I notice when I eat certain foods that my face gets really red and I'm really inflamed. And I was like, you know what? That may be frustrating you right now, but great. That's really good information to have because now you can see the gut skin axis playing out in your body in real time, right? That what goes on with the gut, everything that happens in the gut. And it seems like the skin is such a faraway organ from the gut, but they impact each other. The gut microbes impact the skin microbes. There's still so much that we don't know, but we do know that those microbes are educating the immune system. They're affecting our skin. And the good news is there's a lot of things that we can do to support our skin microbiome and supporting our gut. So the microbiome, we can go more into that though, like why it's so important, but it does so many things. It really does so many things for the skin to help your skin be healthy. Even aging, we're now discovering like how the skin microbes impact how quickly you age, because depending on what types of microbes that live on your skin, that affects your skin's pH. And if your skin, that's a whole other rabbit hole, but just one interesting fact I'll mention, studies have been done on skin pH and they found that people that have high skin pH actually develop fine lines and wrinkles faster because your skin, the pH should be around 4.5 to 5.5. It's so easy to offset that. And when it's too alkaline or way too acidic, the microbes are not happy. And the microbes are all part of that healthy skin barrier. So, there's so many different factors to keeping the skin microbes happy. And pH is a really big one that a lot of people are missing out on by the cleansers soap, for example, foaming cleansers are usually a 9 or 10 on the pH scale.
Yeah.
It's not making your microbes
People
happy.
don't know because that's all that was available for so long, or what we were taught. So I think something huge that you're teaching the audience that we take for granted is that when we say the word microbiome, people are learning that is in your gut. And you are telling us, you have microbiomes in everything is connected. So your skin, your mouth, all of your parts, there's a microbiome going on. Fungi are your friends, and in us, on us, all around us. And that's, you have these communities that are trying to work for you. That's natural. And when we support them, they can work for us. And when we work against them, often with product or food or things that aren't meant for us, when we get disconnected from nature, we can get away from it. So I want to ask you then specifically, I know a lot of your social media content is aimed at helping people with rosacea because you have lived the rosacea life and were affected by that. So can you just tell us, give our audience, really, what is rosacea for one? Like, it's a common skin condition. There's lots of research showing that it can really affect people's mental health. Like, even
I'm glad you brought that up.
Like depression and anxiety we think of as happening in the brain. And you have an experience where it was connected to your skin. So tell us more about what it is. And then if you don't mind giving us some natural treatment options for people who are probably listening with it right now. I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, so hundreds of millions of people have rosacea, and many people have it and are mistreating it as acne. It's so often that people will think, oh, it's just acne, I need to just dry the crap out of my skin, and they're making their rosacea worse. So it affects, I think I heard over 400 million people worldwide. But again, many people don't know they have it, or they're just misdiagnosing themselves. So essentially what it is, rosacea is an inflammatory skin condition. So it's when your cheeks, mainly across your cheeks, there's heat. There can be redness. That's kind of the hallmark of rosacea, is the red and the heat when you're in a flared state. But if it becomes chronic, you also get acneic bumps, although they're not, whiteheads, they're just raised bumps. So they really affect the look of your skin's texture. So, and they're really hard. You can't, what I always found, what was so frustrating for me when my rosacea was really bad, I had moderate to severe rosacea, was that makeup just doesn't cover it.
Right.
You can use, I learned a lot about cosmetics because I never really wore makeup before I dealt with rosacea. I learned a lot how to hide things, but really it's really hard to hide when it's the texture of your skin. Yeah. It can also
affect... And you're not hiding how you feel. You're hiding it from the world outside, but you're putting on this mask because the heat and the inflammation is something you're experiencing 24/7 when you're in that flare.
Your skin just feels the best way to describe it, and I hear many people tell me this, is your skin feels angry. Your skin feels like it's the enemy. It can affect your eyes. There's ocular rosacea. Fortunately, I didn't have that. In elderly people, it can really disfigure the face, can disfigure the nose. That tends to happen more in men than women. And like you said, I think what's really common with rosacea that people don't really talk about is the depression and anxiety. I had it pretty bad for about 4 years, and I didn't even want to go outside to put out the garbage.
Yeah.
Because I'm I'm a nutritionist.
Yes.
How am I dealing with this? I feel like I eat right. I do all the things. I meditate. And so for me, it was really hard on my self-esteem. And of course I have to go out in the public and do talks, and my face just felt like it was always on fire. So the one thing, if I can kind of summarize, and we'll talk about some natural things, but if I can summarize my experience with it, is that really when you're dealing with a skin condition, it's an inside and an outside approach. Okay. I feel like us in the wellness industry, myself in particular, focus so much on the inside that it's a little bit of a bubble that needs to be burst, realizing actually when you're dealing with skin issues, it's both. So
Yep.
maybe that's more in our wellness bubble. We're like inside, the health of the inside is reflected on the outside. Yes, it is. But also how you treat your skin on the outside, the topicals that you use, all of those things are so, so important.
Yeah. Especially if you are someone who you're nailing it on the inside. You've got that figured out, but you are still using products that are counterbalancing what work you're doing because you have this unawareness that what sits on your skin, I don't know, is it right that what you put on your skin is in your bloodstream within 30 seconds?
Yeah, depending on the ingredient, the size of the molecule,
Right.
but yeah, like ingredients can be absorbed into your bloodstream, like you said, faster.
So you might as well be eating them. Like if you wouldn't
faster
eat
than
it,
eating it.
and that's why, so when you, like I mentioned your body butter and there's chaga in it, and I have had psoriasis, so I want to hear more about rosacea because it's so fascinating that I experienced something similar but with psoriasis.
Right.
And chaga is the mushroom that there's the most research. There's a good clinical trial with chaga for psoriasis. So it was interesting to me in the beginning to follow and research that. But in that study that I loved so much, they were taking supplements. So they were using a chaga extract as well as using chaga as a topical supplement. And I hadn't heard of that before. And then you bring out this product and you put chaga in it, and I like legit bathe in that stuff in the summer. I mean,
she really does.
I really do. And in the summer, my skin looks amazing. Like honestly,
do you use it on your face too, or just your body?
I have put it on my face if I'm feeling really like this is terrible and dermatologists don't listen to me, but I don't love to use sunscreen if I don't have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the sun is also very beneficial for skin.
And I need the vitamin D. And we are on the lake a lot in the summertime. So I will extend the amount of time I can go before using a sunscreen if I use the body butter on my face. But
right. Because it has the coconut oil.
Yeah. So
so
I'm not saying it's sunscreen. Like, listen, people, I'm not saying it's sunscreen, but I can extend, especially if it's not like direct sun exposure. But it's not something that I could use every single day. I am bathing in it all over my body, but I will use it outside in the summertime if I know I'm going to have a lot of sun exposure. It's super moisturizing. I feel like it's a bit more of a defense. Chaga supports the production of melanin. There's so much good stuff. But what you're saying about we in the wellness industry have a responsibility to stop pretending that it's just what you put in your mouth.
Yeah.
That's going to make you better. It's also what we're putting. It's an inside and outside job. So tell us more than what you did with your, like, I know people are dying to know, how did you get rid of it? What did you do?
Well, first, I mean, I'm sure some people listening might not be doing the inside stuff yet. So like a couple top things you want to look at.
Start there.
I think one for a lot of people who suffer from rosacea is histamine. Having histamine intolerance and being sensitive to, histamine rich foods. So that really comes down to gut health, and that's a rabbit hole that we won't go down. But, anyone listening, what I would suggest to you is that you investigate your sensitivity to histamine, or look into your digestion. Are you breaking down your histamines well? One thing that you could do if you have really sensitive skin, or if you've been diagnosed with rosacea, is, just Google high histamine foods and, take a look at the top ones, fermented foods, look at the foods that have a lot of histamine, and take a break from those foods and notice if your skin is any better. Histamine dilates blood vessels, like lots of blood to the face, right? So for me, that was a big thing for me, was addressing the histamines in my diet. So, I was all about eating tons of fermented foods. I was using fermented protein powders. I was like the fermented goddess. And so when I addressed that, but then also addressed my gut health, healing my gut, like now I can eat high histamine foods, but I also have balance with it. I'm not like eating a cereal bowl size of sauerkraut.
Totally. It's so interesting, Joy, that you mentioned this, because I think there are a lot of synchronicities where, you're talking angry skin, and it's the inside and the outside, and histamine. So earlier this year, and even in December, so I found out that the home I was living in had mold. And so I totally experienced symptoms of mold toxicity. Like, I kid you not, my eyes were swollen shut because I had a severe reaction to mold. Had
Whoa.
that remediated, turns out, the washing machine had been leaking. And I thought, okay, it was remediated. Now my skin instantly is better, right? I'm thinking, okay, it's mold, because I'm experiencing, certain gut symptoms as well. And as we know, the gut is related to our skin. And, I'm nitpicking at all the things that I'm eating, really changing my lifestyle. Like, I'm pretty dialed in with all of these factors, just like you. And I'm thinking, like, what the heck is going on? Turns out, like, there must be some sort of mold exposure that I'm still experiencing because I'm so sensitive and my body is so hyper aware of all of those things that, okay, yes, it got better, but now it's continuing, and I'm continuing to experience some of these symptoms and that angriness. And part of it, I think for people listening, it's not just one thing. Like, as an example from Joy's story, from mine, it's not just one thing. Okay, same thing with me, sensitive to very, high histamine foods. Okay, I'm eliminating that. But at some point, it has to be, you have to go at it from a multitude of different areas. And also, if your skin is feeling really angry, it's really uncomfortable. Like, it's really uncomfortable throughout the day. Yeah, you have to be doing things internally, but then also be doing things externally too to help calm your skin in ways while you're doing that concomitantly. So I think it's really, you've highlighted so many beautiful things about, eliminating high histamine, but also hydrating and supporting your skin and just all the things.
Yeah, yeah. And to your point, like all skin conditions and like most health issues, the causes are multifactorial. There's not one single thing, and that can make skin conditions really tricky because you're trying to figure it out. But like when it comes to nutrition, really focusing on an anti-inflammatory diet, I would say that's like the first place to start. More anti-inflammatory foods, and then cutting out the pro-inflammatory foods, the refined sugar, the alcohol, the refined grains. Those are all, I mean, there's so many people who suffer from rosacea and they drink wine. And that is like the biggest red flag.
Yeah.
And
literally
when I
red.
meet
We
people with
see,
rosacea,
I
right?
see people that are complaining about a skin issue and then they're drinking a glass of wine and I could see their face going red in front of me. And I'm
Such
like,
a trigger.
how are they not seeing the connection? Your body's talking to you here. This is how it's going to respond to that substance. Some people are okay, others are not.
Yeah.
And I don't consume alcohol because I have sensitive skin, but I have great skin. I have great skin now because I've chosen that. And there's judgment. Like, there is judgment when I'm the only one at a party that's choosing to not, but I'm not missing out. I feel so glad to have recognized that was a trigger for me. And it is a gift of self-love for me to be drinking that delicious mocktail and being the one in the room without the red face. And I sleep well that night, and there's so many benefits. And it doesn't mean that I don't have friends that can drink all they want and it doesn't bother them. Lucky you, we respond differently. And I love that you're explaining the science behind this histamine response and how we're breaking that down based on who we are. And you're different from your friend and even your family. So is there a genetic?
Yes. Yeah, so people of Celtic descent, which is me, I'm basically the poster child for rosacea. Celtic descent, fair skin, runs in my family, sensitive to the sun. So I unfortunately am the type of person on my face, I literally wear sunscreen 365 days a year. I have to. On my body, I don't because I want to get that vitamin D, but because I am so sensitive, so there is absolutely that component. Some people are just going to be more likely to develop that type of skin issue. Also, interestingly, rosacea is very commonly seen with people who get headaches and migraines, which I also get. Not as much as I used to. But that's another sort of interesting connection. But
to the DNA.
Really, what's that?
It's just the genetic piece is so interesting. I know that with for people who are thinking, oh, is that like eczema? Well, eczema is connected to the same gene as asthma. So there's so much, right? Like that's yes, you have a blueprint, but I love that. So at our office, we are always saying genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. And I love that you're sitting there with someone with, look at you, you have gorgeous skin and beautiful hair and you have the genetics for it, but you're not you're not a slave to the genetics if you're willing to change the other things. So,
Yeah.
and it always, like with autoimmune like issues. So with me, psoriasis was autoimmune, turned into psoriatic arthritis. I knew I had the genetics. My dad has it. My grandmother had it. And I just assumed that meant I'm going to have it. Until I realized there's so much research about the three-legged stool of autoimmunity. Yes, you have the genetics, but it's also, there's going to be a leaky gut issue there. There's going to be a gut health issue, and there's going to be a trigger that make it play out for you. And I can't eliminate the genetics. I can't, well, I mean, there's epigenetics. But I can definitely heal my gut, and I can definitely try to work to discover the trigger and eliminate those. And if two of the legs on the stool are broken, the genetics doesn't matter anymore. You get to be you. So you've done that. You've still got those same genetics. You're not going to change that beautiful Celtic ancestry, but your skin clearly shows what a healthy gut and avoidance of the triggers look like. So
people with darker skin though as well, this is why it can be tricky for people to figure out what's going on, because people with darker skin they won't have redness. You can't see redness in someone with black skin.
Right.
But people who have darker skin also experience rosacea. So just, there's different triggers, right? There's different signs. It's like the heat and just feeling the inflammation within the skin. So I think it can be more difficult. Like for me, it was glaringly obvious because I have such fair skin. So it was easy, you can see the broken blood vessels. But it's just worth mentioning that a lot of people have it and they just don't even know. Yeah. But for me, like one of the turning points, I mentioned the histamines, but the big turning point for me was when I started researching very heavily, going down that rabbit hole of skin health and this pH of the skin and what I'm using. So I was using organic natural products. I was for many years using a coconut-based cleanser with a very natural moisturizer. And so when I started researching this, I was like, oh, like maybe it has to do with my microbiome and how healthy my pH is. Like maybe because if your skin pH is higher, your skin becomes so much more reactive and sensitive. And that was a big thing for me. It wasn't just the rosacea. Like I felt that my skin was just so reactive and just sensitive to everything. So when I changed my skincare, that's when I started developing my own skincare. Like if I showed you before and afters of using Hello Joyous, after 4 weeks of only using Hello Joyous, I had a massive improvement in my skin. And specifically, it was like the angriness of my skin and then the texture of my skin improved. Now, I always say that with a caveat of like, it's not just about, I don't want anyone to think that my skincare is going to cure your rosacea because it's not.
You have to do both.
It has to be a holistic approach. It's the inside and the outside. But I really want to educate people about the importance of caring for the outside, not over exfoliating. Retinoids are so popular now. But I just think a lot of people are not really caring for their skin microbiome and caring for their skin barrier. They're layering on a million different products. Right? There's so many
are
things.
Out. Tell them, Joy. No more. It's simple. When
less
did we
is
get
more.
so complicated? When people realized they could make a lot of money by telling you that you need to have 900 steps in your skincare routine. And I have a 14-year-old daughter who, like, I love when you send out the posts about what's happening at Sephora. Because it is so marketed heavily toward this group of girls who are coming up and thinking that if they want to look like what they're seeing out there, that's beautiful, then they need to be lining up these very expensive products with lists of ingredients that they can't read, and that's going to be the answer. And I mean, she hates it when I'm like, I'm not buying that for you until you read me the list of ingredients and tell me which ones are good and which ones you... and she's like, it's none of them. Just use Hello Joyous. Like, she knows. But it took her going through it to realize that it's all marketing. It's marketing, and it is horrifying that that's how our girls are growing up now. I honestly grew up in the like Noxzema.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Right?
Me
like,
too.
Even worse. So to be now my age and have someone that's been through the skin stuff and it's like oil cleansing is a beautiful thing. Like, we need to think the total opposite of how I was raised with, like, the more bubbles and suds, the cleaner you are. You're just stripping away all of that beautifulness that your body created for you. And I know when I started using your cleanser, it doesn't suds. And I loved that, but I also would hear people saying, "Oh, I tried it, but it doesn't work." And what they mean is it doesn't suds. And I'm like, that's the beauty of it. It's a
mindset shift. It is 100%. So true, because people are so used to their skin feeling stripped and dry, or even
squeaky.
Even if they don't like that, just that tight feeling, that's what they think means your skin is clean.
No, it means your pH.
Your skin should actually feel silky and velvety.
Yes.
It should feel hydrated.
Yes.
And if someone does, like, whenever I have customers, like if someone wears a lot of makeup, if someone wears a lot of foundation, the beauty of our cleanser is that you can double cleanse. Yeah. So if you have thick foundation on and you need to do a double cleanse, you can do that because it's a gentle cleanser.
Yeah.
And so, it is really a mindset shift of like, okay, it doesn't need to be tight and dry. My skin is clean. And, being gentle. So many people are so way too harsh. Like, treat your skin like how you would treat a baby's skin.
Yes.
Gentle. So like using, I'm a big fan of bamboo cloths. I don't like any of those like sponges, or a lot of people will use just like a small like bath cloth, like the terry cloths, like those cotton. That's actually too stripping for your skin. Yeah. A bamboo cloth is the best thing to use for your skin because it's so gentle. And then you apply the cleanser, and then you use the cloth if you're wearing makeup. Our cleanser doesn't take off eye makeup, but you can use the Magical Mist toner to, like, always take off your eye makeup first and then you cleanse. But the nice thing is it's pH balance. It's around a 5.5. Yeah. Our cleanser, because of the organic comfrey root and the organic vegetable glycerin. So if anyone listening here is using soap on their face, please just stop. Please stop.
Please stop. You know what, Joy? I really love that you mentioned, really love what you mentioned about the mindset shift of people think that clean equals that dry, tight feeling. And I think a lot of us can really think back to 2020 when all of these different products came out for cleaning, and Bath and Body Works, and just because it smells like birthday cake and it foams like crazy all over your hands, it's awesome, and just all of the products that we thought are cleaning, with germs and sanitizing and all of that, but it's actually really harmful, right? And things like SLS, that's foaming, it's actually very detrimental to our skin. And what I love about your products is the intentional ingredients that are safe for your skin to promote healthy, glowing, radiant skin. Can you share with us in terms of ingredients to avoid in skincare? Because Brandy and I are always talking to people about what to avoid in their mushroom products. But I think it's also important with skincare too. And, we know the skincare industry is largely unregulated, which means that ingredients that are not ideal for your skin make their way into, your favorite moisturizers and cosmetics. But I think it would be helpful for whoever's listening to learn so that they can become better at reading labels and making conscious decisions.
Totally. That's a great question. There are so many ingredients that should not be in skincare that are in there to maintain shelf life for 10 years, to fill up a bottle. Skincare is marked up around 700% on average, like the conventional beauty brands. That's how much they're marking up, which is insane.
Yeah, which is why Sephora is a big, shiny, beautiful store with... That's why. Like, how much do those ingredients really cost? Most of them are in your pantry.
It's crazy to me. Yeah. It's honestly, and water is free. Like the most expensive. Like, you look at cleansers and shampoo, like hair care, for example, like almost always the first ingredient is water. And when you add water to a product, you have to add synthetic preservatives because water breeds bacteria. So that's why we actually don't put water. I'm not saying that water itself is a bad ingredient. It's just that when you see water, often they're adding it because it's a filler.
Yeah, like in a tincture, if we're a mushroom product, our community knows that. We're always on. Like, why use the tincture? Right. You don't need the water.
Yeah. Yes,
Just
exactly.
get the good stuff.
Yeah. So even though water's not a bad ingredient, I would start by saying that when it comes to most products, like if you see water, then that there's going to be a lot of preservatives in there. SLS, you already touched on, a really good one to talk about. Sodium lauryl sulfates, because that foaming action strips the lipid layer of your skin. When you're stripping that layer, you are affecting your microbes. Your microbes live in harmony with that lipid layer, which is so important to keep inflammation in check. So anything that's foaming, and you even have to be careful, there are organic approved foaming ingredients like cocoa glucoside, which are better. But if they're in a facial product, I would not use it. If it's in a shampoo, I think that's totally fine. In a shampoo, like you want to get rid of the grease in your hair. So you need something stronger, but you don't need like industrial strength foaming agents in your cleansers. Like don't use that. The other big thing is, and you see this in natural products too, and I'm so anti-fragrance. So when it comes to synthetic fragrance, I should say, because our products do have a very nice natural smell, but that is literally because of the botanicals that are in there. The functional, purposeful ingredients, not put in there for scent. So the big problem with fragrance is that they are hormone disrupting chemicals. Fragrance contains phthalates. Phthalates are not listed on the label. There's thousands of phthalates. They can modulate, mimic, alter our estrogen. And as you mentioned earlier, Brandy, products that we slather on our body can get into circulation within 30 seconds, under a minute. And the scary thing is that there's an ingredient called propylene glycol, which a lot of people in the conventional beauty industry say it's a neutral ingredient, like whatever, don't worry about it. But propylene glycol, right, is a penetration enhancer. So whatever other ingredients that you have in there, it's going to help those ingredients absorb better, which you don't actually want if you're so when you look at things like anti-wrinkle creams and foundations, they have so many hormone disrupting ingredients in them, like synthetic fragrance, and then they pop in that propylene glycol to enhance the penetration so you get whatever benefit you're supposed to get. And then all the petroleum based ingredients, parabens, everyone knows parabens are not great. Parabens are preservatives. There's many different kinds of parabens, and we know that they're not great because they're hormone disrupting ingredients. But what you see so often is paraben free. And oftentimes, whenever I see that like slapped across the front of a label, to me, that is a red flag that it is greenwashed. Because if that's the only leg they have to stand on, you can bet that there's something else in that product. So what the beauty industry did years ago, when there was all the bad press around parabens because of the breast cancer study, which they didn't prove that parabens cause breast cancer, but they found parabens in breast cancer tissue. That's the issue. So the beauty industry said, well, it doesn't cause breast cancer. They're just there. Okay, we know that. That's a fact.
Yeah,
so
when
then,
there's an issue in the tissue, there's a downstream.
Yeah, I like that.
Right?
If there's an issue in the tissue.
Yes.
Right? So what the beauty industry did was like consumers were like, I don't want your products with parabens. So what the beauty brands did was then they said, okay, like no more parabens. Instead, we'll use formaldehyde releasers and no one will know, which I would argue can be even worse.
Yeah.
They're a common skin irritant.
Yeah.
They can be carcinogenic.
Yeah.
So formaldehyde releasers are in so many conventional beauty products.
Yeah.
So there's just so many different ingredients that you have to like watch out for. So what I would suggest is there's different apps that you can use. There's the Yucca app, there's Think Dirty, there's the Environmental Working Group, has Skin Deep. All of these apps have their pros and cons because sometimes there's ingredients that they just decide, this is an ingredient we're going to rate very, very poorly. But, there's different nuances, so it can get a little confusing. But I think for the average person, like using one of those apps can be super helpful. And then just like you read what's in your food, like read what is in your products. Like that's why I'm such like a minimalist when it comes to
simple,
what I
simple.
eat.
Yeah.
And what I put on my skin, I read all my labels. So when it comes to your skincare, just read your labels. Like, do you know what all of these things are?
Yes.
And
And
if
that,
it's a list of like, you see this all the time. Like you see these, there's this serum I saw the other day. I think I had like 45 different
right.
ingredients.
How do they
Like,
even have
and
room?
it's like $295. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, half of those ingredients are all synthetic. God knows what they do. They're probably preservatives. And the other half, okay, some of them are good. But the problem is when you have like 45 ingredients,
In a
you're not
bottle.
getting a meaningful dose
That's
of
it.
any ingredient. And
Yes.
you see
Yes.
this in the natural health industry too, right? Like these different like superfood powders. You have 50 different superfoods, but
Yes. The
you're getting a
laundry list.
dusting, right? A microscopic amount. So that's why with Hello Joyous, we're very intentional, as Desiree was saying, very intentional about our ingredients. So like
Yeah.
when you use our Hella Hydrating Serum, you are getting only 2 ingredients. That's
Yes.
it. You're
Yes.
getting tons of beautiful rosehip oil that's rich in vitamin C and carotenoids and all these things that are so good and nourishing for your skin. So, I mean, there's other ingredients that I don't like, but it can get like there's so many of them that you want to avoid that I would just say use one of those apps and then read your labels and be wary of greenwashing.
Yes. I can go one further and say don't use the app. Just use Hello Joyous and
Yeah.
be done with it.
Thank you.
Buy a product that was created by somebody with intention and consciousness and has built it for themselves. And if somebody is going to use it on themselves, you can believe it's going to be good for you too. And that's it. You're using your own products. We use your products. We've recommended them to so many people. We have a friend who's a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, acupuncturist, nutritionist locally with us, helps with a lot of our recipe development. And she, in her clinic, is using your products on her patients.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yes,
That makes me so happy.
Yeah, and it makes her so happy because they're so happy because nobody's reacting to those
That's
things because they're so
great.
natural. They're literally things I would eat. And
Yeah,
if-
you could eat our body butter if you wanted to.
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I've tasted it because it smells like chocolate to me. 'Cause of
You're not the
cocoa butter.
first. Many people have told me that.
I put it in my hair. It's been a styling
Yeah,
product for
it's
me.
so nice in your hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I use it on my cuticle. I'm not kidding. I bathe in it. But
I love that.
I think the apps are fantastic. But I would use that. I would use the app and I do scan
Yeah.
things or whatever. But I will tell you, the teenagers are not. They
No, it's
just,
true.
right? And
Yeah, that's
I
hard.
just want to ask you to please do this. So there are dance moms out there worldwide who have these competitive dancers who are smashing on, like, if they might perform 12 dances over the course of a dance competition, which means they're washing their face 12 times in 2 or 3 days and putting on layers and layers of makeup dependent on a performance. And the makeup they're using, the skincare they're using, the cleanser they're using, just watching these girls, these beautiful talented artists go out on stage with what they're doing to their skin because it's required in that industry, which needs change. Can you
Yes.
please develop a makeup line to go with Hello
You know what? I was going to
Please.
say, there are actually some
Please.
really great Canadian cosmetic brands.
Okay.
Like those moms need to know about. Like
Yes.
Delish,
Yes.
Elate, Ilia. There are
Yes.
so many great brands. I have been in development working on a tinted lip
Yes.
product.
Yes.
But yeah, no plans to make cosmetics yet, but I
Okay.
totally agree. There's so many. Yeah, I think a lot of times that like moms maybe just don't know.
They
don't know what's available out there
Yeah.
and that it now, okay, so when I first became a nutritionist, the natural health products like the shampoos and the conditioners and many of the cosmetics were terrible.
Yeah.
Like I'm being honest, like but it's come so far.
Yeah.
Like I only wear like natural cosmetics,
Yeah.
mascara, lip products.
Yeah.
So once in a while I wear some blush, but the nice thing is there are so many brands that
Options,
there's no
yes.
reason.
Yes. And it's
And
the-
and can be as affordable too, right?
Absolutely. Your products last forever. Like, and
Yeah.
I mean, I keep them in multiple places because I spritz it on an airplane, spritzing at a desk,
Oh
wherever.
yeah,
But
Magical Mist. I always
but
have
when you
one.
buy
I
a
have
high
one.
quality product, the fact that you don't have water in your product is a big one, and that's what makes it last longer. And now I'm just ruined forever. If I pick up something and there's water in it, forget it.
Yeah.
That's
And you
filler
might be
and
wondering, actually, you mentioned the spritz, like how do you have a toner that doesn't have water? So here's the difference. So a toner, aka hydrosol, so many hydrosols and toners, the first ingredient is water, and then they have like the active components in it. What we do is we take the organic plant matter and we distill it, and we only take the distilled water. So our magical mist is literally just the flower water. And it's really nice. So for people who are sensitive to essential oils, a lot of people are. And our products, our cleanser, our toner, and our Hella Hydrating Serum are essential oil free. But if you want to take advantage of essential oils, still get those medicinal benefits like from rose geranium, calendula, using a hydrosol is great because it's just the distillates, and it's a more gentle way to get the benefits. So that's how with our toner, our Magical Mist toner, we get away with it being waterless because it's literally just the distillates. We're not adding water and then adding the distillates, which is what a lot of brands do. So then you're just paying for kind of a weak hydrosol with water.
Yeah, wealth before health, and that the quality piece stands. Like what I love is the science. That listening to you talk about the science behind it, it is science, right? It's no different than cooking. And in your cookbook, it's chemistry when you get in the kitchen and put these ingredients together to make things. And you're essentially, you're a mixologist that has this understanding of the science behind why it works. And I love that. All I have to do is press the button. I don't have to know the science. It works because you've done that work for us, and I'm so grateful. And it brings me to something I want you to comment on, and it is the topic of stress, which we talk about so much. And people are, it's the chicken before the egg. Are stressed out people the people who have the terrible skin, or are you stressed out because your skin is terrible? But it's an issue either way, no matter where it's coming from. This relationship between stress and the skin is so well documented. I know you've had your own experience, and whether it's premature aging or eczema or acne or rosacea, it doesn't matter what it is. Stress is playing a role there. And I know this because for me with psoriasis, that's what it was for me. And I cured that with meditation. I had to manage my stress as well as heal my gut, as well as clean up my skincare routine in order to be where I am in success managing psoriasis with no pharmaceuticals for many years. But that stress piece, I think, is something that I know you have talked about, and I think is, again, glossed over like the mental health piece, because not all people who are stressed have a mental health diagnosis, but stress is a massive player in all of these things. So I'd love for you to share your idea on that.
Yeah, so stress affects everything in our body, and we have receptors for cortisol, stress hormone, in our skin. And cortisol impacts our moisture level of our skin, our oil production. That's why a lot of people who suffer from acne, for example, will notice that their acne gets worse when they're stressed out because they're producing so much more oil. But if we look at like the bigger picture and look at gut health, like when we're in the stress response, if we're in chronic stress, this can make our gut more leaky and more permeable. So food molecules that shouldn't be getting into circulation, get into circulation and create inflammation. So stress and the gut is a really important topic. And I'm so glad that you mentioned about doing meditation and how much that made a difference for you. I know when I look back, my skin was the worst ever in 2020 when we were going through the pandemic. And I look back and I'm like, oh, wow, right. Because stress. And then when you're stressed and your digestion is not functioning optimally, you're not absorbing nutrients that you need for healthy skin, like your vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E. Like there's so many nutrients that are critical for healthy skin, a healthy barrier function. And when you're going through the stress response, it really can manifest and affect your skin. And so many people see that affects the microbes. Like we know that when we're in the stress response, the diversity of the microbes in our gut go down which we know affects inflammation. And when we have systemic inflammation, if we're more susceptible, can manifest on the skin. So there's many different ways that stress affects our skin. And, I know for myself, if I'm feeling really stressed out, I will get my cheeks will get red. I'll get a rosacea flare. So that's like my weak point.
Yeah.
But
or
then
that's
it's
your
like,
body talking to you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so what do you do? What is your favorite stress resilience or stress management tip? What do you do?
Yeah, so my biggest thing, I do love meditation as well, like you, but my biggest thing, like in the moment, is I just go outside and I go for a walk.
Yeah.
I get myself in nature. That's truly like my happy place.
Yeah.
And it gets me, I leave my phone at home. It gets me, working from home and having your own business. It's so easy to like work endless hours.
Yes.
So just when I'm feeling stressed, I just leave the office. I just go out and I go for a walk. And if I have time, in the mornings when my daughter goes to a school that's really close to a large green space. So a couple days a week, if I have even just like 15 minutes, I'll just go for that walk. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Really.
Connection to nature. It's where the mushrooms
Right?
are.
The smells,
Of course it's,
like
yes.
breathing in all those essential oils from the trees
Yep.
are so calming for the nervous system.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. But I'm also, if I'm going to do a talk or a presentation somewhere, I'll do like a 5 or 10 minute meditation. I'll just pop in my earbuds. And I find like if my heart rate just feels like higher and I just feel like a little bit anxious, literally like 10 minutes of intentional breathing it literally works. It works.
Literally works. You were
It's
born with
free.
it. Yeah. You will take your last breath and it will always have been with you your whole life. And we go so long without using this tool that is free for all of us and is so powerful. We just got back from a 7-day meditation retreat where we did 40 hours of meditation and a lot of breath work. And
the two of you were there?
We went together and
that's so nice.
the doctors that came on stage and were talking about the research connected to like, why would people do this craziness? I mean, a lot of people like, why would you sit in a room and do that? But they are showing so much of what you're talking about, that as just like the stress can change your microbiome for the worse, relaxation, whether it's it being in nature or mindfulness, meditation, whatever it is, can improve your microbiome. And we saw it happen. And they know that 100% of the people had an improvement in their microbiome when they left that retreat. And not just a little bit of a change. Like some people had a 30% change improvement in their microbiome just after meditating for 7 days. And
I believe it.
So I think, this is really undervalued, and we love telling people functional mushrooms can help with their health in so many ways. You have skincare and nutrition that's helpful, but
I love my mushrooms. I swear that like turkey tail.
Yeah, tell us about your favorite.
Reishi. Every day I took my reishi. I know so many people take it at night. I take it in the morning.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of things happen throughout the day. So for me, and I also, as we were talking about earlier, my husband Walker, he's away right now. So I got his little pill box, but not pills in there, all supplements. So I'm like, take your turkey tail.
Yeah, especially when you're traveling. Good.
Yeah, to manage stress. But I feel like it keeps my immune system really robust. A few days ago, my ear was kind of aching and I'm like, no, I can't get sick.
Get the turkey tail.
So what I found with the turkey tail, because I feel like I've been taking it consistently, I want to say for just over a year. And I feel like when I am coming down with something, it just doesn't manifest into, I'm not sick for days on end.
Yeah.
Like my body, I really feel like it's helped or maybe it's the reishi, I don't know. But it certainly when I got really consistent with the turkey tail, I feel like it just boosted my resilience to getting sick. And I, knock on wood, I've been pretty healthy. Or if I'm feeling something, I'm able to kick it quickly.
The severity is less, and we hear that so much. And we use you as an example, Joy, because you're right. So many people think reishi is for sleep, and it's great for sleep, and it's beautiful for the people that have been on sleeping pills for decades and they want so desperately to come off because of the side effects, and it's a great way for people to use it for that. But we use you as an example regularly as the daytime proponent for reishi
Yeah.
and stress resilience, because you have said you are somebody that has had experience with anxiety in the past, and people that know what that feels like will do anything to have just some more resilience to that feeling. You're still going to feel it, but how quickly can we recover from it? And certainly your breath is something we can use for that, and meditation. But when you have an adaptogen as powerful as reishi, which I would argue is the most powerful adaptogen we have access to on this planet, Mother Nature gave it to us for a reason. And I think, again, in 2020, when COVID came out, we saw so many more people going to reishi as a daytime friend for stress resilience. So I love that you're the opposite of what many people do, and it works so beautifully for you, telling us don't do what your friends are doing. Take the time to listen to your skin, to your gut, and do what really works for you, and that takes time. So we have to not be in such a rush, right? Mother Nature's not in a hurry. Not everything blooms all year round, and neither do you. You need to rest. You need to take the season for so much. So many.
I love it. So much wisdom. If there are people who are listening who really, want to look at your cookbooks and know more about you and your Hello Joyous skincare, how can our listeners connect with you or find out more about that?
Yeah, so my website where I share all my nutrition content and recipes is joyoushealth.com. So JOYOUS, and it's the same on IG. And then my skincare, hair care is hellojoyous.com, and it's the same on IG as well. So you can find me there. And I'm always sharing new content, and as I said, I'm on a mission to bring more joy to people's lives and really help to educate and ultimately empower people to take care of their own health. And I also want to thank both of you for your brand, because it really, Eversio mushrooms many of your products have been so beneficial to me, and I am always recommending them. And I've heard so many great stories from people I know of how much your products have helped them. We didn't even talk about the lion's mane, which I love because I have Alzheimer's in my family.
Yes.
So supporting, supporting brain health. So I love your products so much. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Oh, thank you
Everyone,
so much.
go buy Eversio.
Well, with your Hello Joyous, it means so much. I love that your mission is to bring more joy, because you're doing it. You are so doing it. And
Thank you.
I know our audience, many of them already know who you are. You're a little bit of celebrity around our office, like I said, and I see your face every day because your cookbook is on one of my favorite shelves at the office there. But I think you're such a great role model for what's possible when people get out of their own way and stop looking to a doctor to give you all of the answers. You need them. You need them when there's an emergency. Break your leg, go to the doctor. Need your skin taken care of. Eat good food, and you share that. And I'm going to recommend to our listeners that they get on your email list at the Joyous Health website, because I get your recipes every week, and we love making them. Yeah, you have so many great options, dairy-free and gluten-free sometimes, and sometimes not. I really love the variety that you have there, and it's just such proof that you're living your life that way. And I know that you're making those with your daughter and with your husband, and they're so full of love, and that's why we all feel the joy coming through. So keep doing all of the things, and I think we need to talk again when I know you're going to create more goodness. I can't wait to see what it is. I feel like we got the easy ride because Mother Nature's already made the mushrooms for us. And so many of our products, really all we had to do was provide better than what was available, much like you. Right. No fillers, and just making them pure and concentrated so that people can feel the benefits. And you have done the same thing. So go, sister.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. So thank you so much for joining us. Audience, please do go and follow Joy and reach out to us if you have questions. We'll link everything in the show notes for you below, and have an amazing rest of your week, Joy. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
We hope you learned something new here today. If anyone you know could benefit from what we shared in this episode, please share it with them. And if you're interested in adding mushroom wellness to your life, you can use code podcast15 to save 15% on your entire order at eversiowellness.com.
If you haven't yet left us a rating and review, subscribed to this podcast, or followed our social media accounts listed in the show notes, we would so appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. Until next time, be well.